And it is time now for a motion to adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
And welcome to Motion to Adjourn. We are actually even in the studio because that other blue and blue boy is not here. So now it's equal representation.
That's right. Right.
Yeah, so I'm just letting everybody know we got an accurate, even representation. I'm not going to get jumped around here like I usually am. Okay?
I'm sorry.
But we are lucky to have the Minister of Education with us. And as usual, I know that education is definitely always a hot topic in the community. And the Minister has always been willing and able to come on our show and share as many factual and insightful information as he can. So I'd like to just introduce you to the Minister of Education, Diallo Rabane. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Dwayne. And unfortunately, Chris is not there, but he'll be happy to know that I'm representing Blue and Bluer today. So you do have 2 on 1.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
This is the person in charge of our children's future. Blue and blue. All right. I'll let it slide this time. But yes, thank you for coming. As we have all seen and been made aware of, that the Signature School program is indeed beginning to roll out. And I guess the first things first is an update on that and the progress. How do you feel it's going? Anything you feel that parents should know?
Yes, Dwayne, we are looking forward to opening our signature programs at both the Barkley Institute and Cedar Bridge Academy, starting when school comes in September. Second Monday in September is the first day of school. Our S1 students will be entering into the new high school system that we've been working on for just over 2 years to bring to fruition. And so parents, I know the parents of the M3 students are excited. I know the M3 students that are coming in are excited. The teams that have been working on this for as long as I said, just over 2 years, they're excited. We're looking forward to this new era of education, an era that gives our students the opportunity to chase their dreams when they start school. And so the idea of the signature program, Dwayne, for those who may have just not picked up on it when we've talked about it in the past, is 30%. First of all of our students will go to school and do the regular school work, what we call the core curriculum. But 30% of their day or of their time in school will be spent exploring signature programs. And what that means is while doing the regular things that they need to do, the math, science, English, and social studies, which makes up the core, plus other topics that they choose to do or optional or what we call encore, there will be the signature program. And the signature program is set up to give them an experience, exposure to industry-based schooling that will allow them to develop skill sets, be exposed to certifications, be exposed to what we call micro-credentials, and things like that in order for them to, when they leave high school, not only will they have that high school diploma that says that they've done all the credits and they've passed successfully, but they'll also, on the other hand, have these experiences and these micro-credentials, these internationally recognized certifications and such that will allow them to either go directly into the workforce, already having exposure to the workforce that they're interested in, or continue on to further education.
Thank you for that. And it was something that you said, internationally recognized. Now, I know that this is a big thing for many parents. Could you expound a bit on the internationally recognized portion?
When we say internationally recognized, meaning the curriculum will be the curriculum that is being designed for this is a curriculum that is based on local factors as well as international factors. And so it is not something that you will do and you will say, well, if I'm not in Bermuda, I'm not going to have, it's not applicable. So if you do take, because it's important for us to give our students the experiences, the credentials for them to take themselves to perform, whether it be locally or overseas. or if they're going into university, of course, it has to be something that's recognized by the university. So that's critically important for us, university and college. It has to be something that's recognized by those institutions. So it's critical for us to ensure that whatever they learn has that currency that they can utilize both in Bermuda and outside of Bermuda.
Yes, sir. And I see that it's two that have spaces yet to be determined, education services and hospitality and tourism, two really important ones. So what's the update on those?
Okay, those are the ones that we have already started working on for introduction in September 2023. In September 2022, at Barclay, we will introduce financial and insurance services and health and social care. At Cedar Bridge will be STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and trades and professions. Now, those are what we call the titles of the signatures. And so under those, there will be different strands. So in the financial and insurance services, you'll have accountancy, banking and financial services, business administration and management, fintech, and insurance. On the health and social care, you'll have medical sciences and services, social sciences and services, and holistic and allied healthcare services. When we talk about what's going on up at Cedar Bridge, and we have the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, the strands under that is creative technology, computer science, animal and veterinarian science, engineering, and environmental science. Under the trades and professions, we'll have automotive technology, electrical, textiles and design, carpentry, cosmetology, horticulture, and culinary arts and hospitality. And that's a temporary location for the culinary arts and hospitality because, as I said, now that these two are scheduled to open up in 2022, we're already working on what the next signatures will be for 2023, and that will be hospitality and tourism and educational services. So something like culinary arts and hospitality would most likely shift over to fall under hospitality and tourism.
Thank you, and I'm sure that will relieve a lot of parents who see the direction and feel like the Ministry of Education is pushing in a more advanced direction. So we're really happy to hear that. And also, just a question, because I know that children are actually applying for the signatures now. Is that correct?
Well, the enrollment process has completed, and one of the things that we did, and I do encourage you in, Dwayne, because I sent you the link to what we call the taster program. And so what we did is we had to go into the schools and talk about what these signatures are, what the strands are, what are the types of things that they will lead these students to in terms of employment or further education. What is the type of personality that would go into those types of fields? And so it was critically important to have those conversations, not only with students, but with parents and with the teachers as well, and give the students opportunities to look at these various strands and say, which one kind of talks to me. And so that's how we're doing this now. But as we move forward with education reform, it's a massive thing we're doing. And as the public knows, where reform is going to go from preschool all the way through to high school, eventually the exposure to the signatures will be part of the curriculum at the primary level. So it wouldn't be like how we have to do it now, where we're going in and we're talking to the M3s and, we're doing that for about a month or so to give them opportunities to kind of explore and dig into these things and see if it actually speaks to them. Our students at the primary level will have this exposure for up to 2 years. So by the time they reach their time to go to high school, they should have a pretty good idea of what interests them at that time. And Dwayne, the key word I just said is at that time, because we've had people come and say, well, how do you expect children to really be secure in what it is that they're interested in at such a young age? And we get that. Our students will be able to transfer if that's what they want. Once they get in there, you're like, how Dwayne, our parents would have been like, you got to go into IB, and you get there and you're like, I don't really like this. I want to be a chef.
Exactly. Yes.
And so there's opportunities for them to transfer to another school that does the signature they want, and they'll still get the exposure of the signature. The only issue then is, think of it as like college. If you do 3 years of one major, then you switch majors, you can't just do another year and graduate. You're going to have to do more. But because we're in high school, it's a finite number. It's a finite number of years that you can be in high school. So you just will not get the full um, features of being in a signature for the entire 4 to 5 years that you are in school. But you will still be able to get something out of it because all of the skill sets throughout the signatures, there are some common skill sets throughout the signatures that will be transferable. One of the things that I really like is when we were talking about the signatures and we were talking to the public about what they should be, and we were using research to figure out what Bermuda needs as a country. One of the signatures, we ended up with 10, but originally we had 11, and the 11th one was entrepreneurship. But after we consulted, we talked to the public, we talked to industry, it was decided that entrepreneurship should be part of every signature thread and not just one by itself. So all of our schooling now will have entrepreneurship built into the curriculum from primary school through high school.
And I know that was a big, teaching people to be self-starters and business owners was something that I know a lot of people were pushing for. So I'm sure many are happy to hear that it's woven throughout our new curriculum. So that's excellent. Regarding the transfers, for a child who is in a signature, because I assume that there's finite quotas, right? Like it's not enough space for everyone to pick similar signatures. If a kid is unable to get into a particular signature, are they put on a waiting list, or is it kind of like when somebody else transfers out, they be notified and they can transfer in?
Well, this is something that's a very interesting question, right? Because we have, unless people start making more babies, we literally have around 300. Right now, we have about 300 people going into senior school per year. We fully expect, and as this grows, that persons will come back from the private schools to back to this experience. We understand that. But right now, we had about 300 students. Everybody got their first choice this particular year. But you are right. Those are the types of things that we can't wait until it happens. We have to start modeling that and figuring out how we're going to move forward. But when our full complement of 5 senior schools are in place, you can understand. You can see take 300 students and divide them up in 5 different places. That's 60 students per school. We're not saying that there's always going to be some of the signatures that will attract more persons, but the purpose of this and the reason we came up with these signatures was talking to industry, looking at employment data, looking at employment trends in Bermuda, and these were the things that came out after we looked at all of that data that said these are the 10 things that Bermuda needs and Bermuda will continue to need for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The types of things that are within those strands will change. Like, for example, we talked about in the financial and insurance services. There's fintech in there. 5 years ago, fintech wouldn't have even existed, if you understand what I mean. And so we understand that when we talk about the signatures, those are the overarching titles of the businesses that Bermuda needs in order to run. But you recognize that underneath those strands will change from time to time. And they'll update, some will become less popular, some new things will come, and we understand that. And so the system's built to consistently evolve and enhance those things. In terms of the question you said about people being put on a waiting list, once we have all 5 schools up and running, I am very doubtful that there will be one of those issues where there is no space in a particular thing because there's such a wide variety. But however, that is something that we are looking at now to work on, and we're even in the future we anticipate that you may not even have to transfer from school. You can just remote into the classroom from the school you're at, and do things like that. And so the idea is that the students will go to the school that they're most interested in, that's doing the signature they're most interested in, and we'll call that their major. But they'll also be able to take a minor if they want, and that minor might possibly be at another school. And that's when we start talking about the remoting in and things like that. So if you are taking you're doing your signature and you're like, this is kind of, I liked it when I first saw it, but I'm not kind of liking it, there's always that possibility of continuing with that, but doing a minor in the other thing that interests you as well.
Thank you for that answer. And as your fellow minister, Jason Haywood, highlighted, it was a big portion of the youth unemployed.
Yeah.
A large contributor to that, in my opinion, is lack of experience, right? And I'm wondering if there's anything built into this new curriculum that when these students graduate high school, that there will be, because I know you have an industry buy-in, as you said earlier, that there will be opportunities for them to intern or have experience in the particular field that they've studied in the signature school.
Well, that is also part of the signature school motto. So when we talk about partnership agreements, that's where we're going out and we're contacting industry and we're signing MOUs with them so we can have those types of things. Like right now, I'm looking at right now, Dwayne, and I sent you a bunch of information. I know you didn't have an opportunity to look at it, but the PDFs that I sent, I really would say take a look because it answers some of the stuff that you're doing. So right now I'm looking at what the curriculum around automotive technology would be. And right there, internships is built into that. And so the requirement to do an internship is part of the requirement to actually complete the course. And so those things are going to be built into there as much as possible. And we also look at what this, you heard me mention earlier, something called micro-credentials. What the micro-credentials that are built in is where you have an opportunity to showcase the theory that you learned in actual practice. And that's what we call, and so that's bridging that gap because, you remember people would say, well, they're book smart, but no common sense sort of thing. We want them to be book smart, but we also want them to be able to practically apply that in industry. And so that's when we're looking at partnerships and we're looking at how we can get our students exposed along those lines. So the idea is that when they leave our schools, they will have experience in these particular signatures or strands that they've studied. That would include certifications. That would include internships. That would include if we're talking about trades, hopefully apprenticeships and all those things and the like. Because the critical part here is the buy-in from industry, and industry is helping us to develop this. So what we've gone in and said, okay, automotive people, if automotive is something that needs to be put in place, what is it that our students need to know and learn and experience so when they finish our high schools, they're in the position for you to say, come and work for me. And so that's where the partnership of developing these curriculums has come from. So it's not just academics developing them, it's also industry helping to develop them as well.
Thank you. And I definitely have been reading through what you sent, and as I want to publicly thank you as well for always, making information as available as possible. So I wanted to, say that publicly. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. So,
yeah, you always hear me say, Dwayne, that this is not a PLP thing. This is not an OBA thing. This is not a public school or private school thing. This is a Bermuda thing. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as people are knowledgeable, they're able to assist because we want everybody to have buy-in to this. We want everybody to give their opinion. And most of all, we want the people who are the naysayers to come and talk to us because they're the ones that are going to make it, that are going to sharpen our program for us. Not the people who already see it and say, this is great. I love it. Keep going. We want the people who say, well, this is the issue I see. So we can address that. So we can talk about that and bring you in to help us design how to get around that barrier. One of the things that always puts a smile on my face is when I go to these workshops where we have educators and we have community and we have business partners there. And, I often hear a person say, you know what, I look up there and see what we're doing and the idea that I said we should try or we should put in there, I see it. Because this is about us as Bermudians developing this, not about us just buying something off the shelf and say, go execute.
No, I agree. And it's definitely something that both sides of the aisle, agree on as far as education reform is necessary. So mm-hmm. I am certain that you have the support of, almost everybody in seeing this work because,
yeah.
I mean, right now we're in a midst of I would say a crisis as far as violence and things like that. And I think a lot of it can stem back to, education, I think. So again,
Yeah, I will admit education does play a part in virtually every ill that we see in any country. The level of education and the caring that people have around education certainly plays a role in it in some way, shape, or form. And I just want all of us to really care about this, care enough to give the feedback, care enough to understand that our children, or especially our parents, godparents, all of the like, all our children want is for you to be there when they need to ask you something, when they need to lean on you, just be there. That doesn't require you to be, super rich. It doesn't require you to have a big house or fancy car or anything. It takes virtually nothing to sit down with a child and just listen and have a conversation with them. All you need is somewhere to sit.
That's right. And Minister, on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to kick into some more questions.
Sure, man.
Thank you.
Any question you have, I'll answer.
Appreciate you.
Are you ready for Sunday Fun Day? The City of Hamilton is excited to announce that Summer Sunday is back. Join us on July 17th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Victoria Park for an exciting day of live entertainment, fair games, food vendors, a charity dunk tank, and more. Hosted by Ed Christopher and Power Girl, it's a fun day the whole family can enjoy. Admission is free. Bring your chairs, invite a friend, and see you at Victoria Park on July 17th for Summer Sunday City Fun Day. For more information, visit cityofhamilton.pm.
The pandemic has done a whole lot of harm to our island, particularly economically. That's why Bermuda College's financial support exists. It's designed to ensure that money problems will not be the thing that keeps you away from taking classes. The BC team is coming to town on July 21st at Nellie's Walk outside City Hall to explain just how Bermudians can get the help they need to get their classes paid for. We'll be there from noon to 3 p.m. on July 21st at Nellie's Walk, sharing how BC financial support can work for you. BC, many paths. Discover yours.
You're locked to Power 95, Bermuda's big station at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gray Miners with Bermuda Broadcasting News with your top stories to the hour, brought to you by Butterfield.
Take control of your Butterfield credit card by downloading the Butterfield Card Alerts app. Monitor your spending activity with real-time transaction alerts sent directly to your mobile device. And if your card is lost or stolen, use the app to turn the card off, preventing any further transactions from being processed. Download the app from the Apple Store or Google Play Store today. Customized credit card controls. This is banking by Butterfield. The Bank of N.T. Butterfield & Son Limited is licensed to conduct banking business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
In court news, Lieutenant Colonel David Curley, former commanding officer of the Royal Bermuda Regiment, today pleaded guilty to corruption. The case was adjourned until September 1st for a sentencing date to be set. Fire Service Association members welcome the 10 additional certified fire and rescue staff from Canada to cover the airport operations, but concerns about the long-term strategy to address staff shortages linger. President of the FSA, Nakia Pearson, said staff approve of the overseas fire crew working for a 3-month period at the Clearwater Station to supplement the shortage of airport-trained firefighter crews at Elthwaite International Airport. However, he said the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service structural crews are heavily overtaxed with their responsibilities due to a lack of manpower, a shortage of around 30 to 40 personnel needed. The Ministry of National Security announced earlier this month that they are in the process of recruiting and training 11 personnel. However, the FSA said the process can take up to a year or more. And those were your top stories to the hour, brought to you by Butterfield.
.9 Bermuda. Hour 95.
Now back to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
And we're back. Minister, you still with us?
I'm still here.
I see that your charts in the documents you sent me are blue and blue and blue as well. Is that coincidental or?
That's coincidental.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't even notice it until you just said that.
I said in July? She. But.
but these things were produced months ago. So.
Yes. Yeah. I know it's coincidental. I just had to ask. But.
Oh,
I wanted to shift a little bit of gears here to a bit more of the social side of this. And I know, I'm sure if I get to the reading all of the things that you sent, it may have some of these answers in it. But I figured I would ask anyway. As you know, like we spoke about before the break, that there is, a crisis going on. And we do have a lot of at-risk teens, a lot of at-risk children, and I know it's a debate about whose responsibility is it. Is it the schools or is it the parents? I think it's a bit of both, right? And I'm just asking, in this new curriculum, is there any more support as far as keeping these particularly at-risk youth who may not have the support at home or may not have, the drive in school to stay engaged?
Well, that is a really, really good question, and thank you for asking that. And I'll be happy to send you more information on that. Our education reform includes the parish primary school, the signature school, the creation of the education authority, as well as some other things that need to come into fruition. So when we talk about, the holistic schooling model, and as we move forward, so some of those things will have to be taken into account. And so when we talk about, breakfast programs, lunch programs in schools, primary schools having proper cafeterias, and those sorts of things, restorative justice being a part of the curriculum, a part and parcel of what it is that we're doing, and the ability to offer parents assistance, with parenting within the system. These are the types of things that we recognize that we need. It's not something that we're going to be able to implement and overcome overnight, but it is something that we recognize that we will play a bigger part in the social activities that go on around our schools. And so when we talk about parish primary school, the parish primary school concept, the concept is that the entire community is uplifting the school itself and getting back to that thought process that, the neighborhood or the village is raising the children and protecting the children from themselves, not only from themselves, but from, elements that can do them harm. So when we talk about a parish primary school, and that's the only school in the parish, and we're looking for the citizens of the parish to rally around the school. We're looking for the businesses, the social clubs, the sports clubs, and all of that to rally around the school and make the school the hub of the parish, and where good things can happen. Schools operating, not just a traditional 8 to 3 o'clock, but a school is a building that is utilized on an extended basis throughout the summer, and that's where people know that they can go and seek refuge. There's a place where they can go and just have positive vibes. So we understand that, and those are the types of things that we want to put in place. It's going to take us time, and one of the things we do get all the time is like, what is the schedule? When will my school close? And all we can say is, we're looking at a 5 to 7 year process to actually go from where we are to where we want to be, and maybe even longer. But we are steadily making that progress, and we ask persons for their patience on that and understand. And all we have to do is look at what's happening at Barking and Cedar Bridge. We ask for patience. When we first started this process, there were people we had to bring kicking and screaming along. There are people like, this will not work, this will not work, this will not work, this will not work. You go talk to some of those people now, Dwayne, and they're saying, I don't know, I can't believe I didn't join this earlier. And I'm going to talk to my people and my colleagues and get them to come on board, because I've been here, I've seen it, I've seen what they're trying to do. I see that I'm a part of the solution as well, and so let's get on with it and let's get it done. So it's a slow process that we're doing methodically, that we're doing deliberately in the direction that we're doing it, because we want to pull people along. And sometimes, this is Bermuda, where a healthy bit of skepticism when you talk about doing something new is the norm. We need to pull people along slowly, but we also need to continue to let them know that they are part of the solution. We want their input, and we value their input.
Yes, and I'm a firm believer in establishing a culture of learning, right? And when I say that, I know that in other countries, especially on the eastern side of the world, everybody pitches in to support learning and growth within the school system. And I think for us here in Bermuda, we haven't quite gotten there as far as everybody kind of being behind these kids in education. So I was just, an old timer told me recently, back in the day, everybody knew the testing schedules and all that. If you saw a kid on the bus and his supposed to be in the test, and say, "Hey, young man, why ain't not in your test?" And stuff like that.
And that's the vibes we want to get back to for sure.
Yes. So I think that's a big part of it, like releasing, testing schedules publicly or posting them or all of that stuff. So people who do take, because there are a lot of Bermudians that take an interest in the community, and, arming them with that information could be, beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And and I tell people all the time, right? It's I'm willing to talk to anybody, anywhere, at any time. If I got to talk to everybody one-on-one, I'll talk to everybody one-on-one. If you out there and you want to arrange something, you have a bunch of friends, you want us to, do a Zoom session, and so you can ask those questions and you'll give a presentation, I'll do that. I will arrange for our people to put that together. I just want everybody. I just don't want anyone to speak from a position of not knowing or not having exposed, because, what we find is people will down something that they don't understand. Give us an opportunity to explain it. And if you still don't understand it, give us an opportunity to continue to explain, but ask the questions. Ask the things that you don't know, and we'll provide those answers for you. You may not like the answers, but I will not shy away from providing those answers. So if I got to walk up and down this country, Dwayne, and talk to every single person one-on-one, that's what we need to happen for this to work. That's what I'll do. All you have to do is call me, and I'll be there. And similarly to how you say, if you want to come on the show, and I say, if you want me on the show, all you got to do is ask, and I will be there, and I'll make the time.
Yes, and I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that, and a lot of people have probably experienced that already. Continuing on to the social part of it,
Mm-hmm.
as you might have heard, because I know you did a lot of extensive communication and the other word is consultation on this. There you go.
I like to say engagement.
Yes, I know you did a lot of engagement when it came to this particular curriculum plan and changes. And I know you've come across probably a lot of people who've mentioned disabilities and how they feel as though their children are not catered to by our public school system. Do you feel as though this, and before I even finish, let me widen it to not just disabilities, but also different learning, types.
Different learning styles.
Yes. Do you feel as though this new curriculum will have built in it ways to kind of engage children that have learning disabilities or are not necessarily traditional learners?
Thank you for that. One of our signature schools, because I talked about the 5 signature schools, and you'll park them over there. There are also plans to build 2 additional signature schools, one for what we call for exceptionalities and one for alternative learning. Now, the one for exceptionalities is a school that we envision that will take into account the learning differences or disabilities that children have. And what we really want is to have them as mainstream as possible with regular classes. But we do recognize that there are going to be some people that will need extreme special interventions and the like. And so that's where we're looking in the future to harness that power to deal with it that way. In terms of the different learning things, and again, Dwayne, I'll send you some information on this. Our motto is to meet the children where they are, and so that it's an actual mind shift from the traditional teaching model. And so a lot of the work that we're doing not only involves designing new curriculum, designing new pathways forward, but it also involves professional learning for our educators. And so that's a critical part of it as well. But it's critical for us to have the educators to help us design the system, because then they start to see what the professional learning is useful for, because they're also helping to design the system. And so when we talk about meeting children where they are, you would have been absolutely blown away with the sessions we have with students. And and students are looking at us like, you mean we can actually tell you what we like and not like about school? You can actually tell you why we didn't feel like that teacher was effective. And I will readily admit that some of our educators were a little irritated that these type of sessions took place, but this is the type of thing we need. We need to see what it is, why they're not grasping, and what we can do differently. And so, Dwayne, I'll give you an example of one of the interventions that have been put in place, and that's our math intervention program that started back in 2019. Of course, COVID knocked it out the box. But the purpose of this math intervention program was not so much about the students. It was about teaching teachers how to teach math. And so I like to explain it this way, right? Math is one of those subjects where you can have 10 different ways of calculating the end sum. So let's say you have 10 ways to get from, this equals that. And so what you find out is that one student may find method 1 and love it. Another student may think method 5 is the best, works. They understand it better. Both methods are getting them to the same point. But what teaching was so much like, the teacher was teaching the method that they understood. And so some students were just not getting that. And so when you start saying, hey, there are different ways of doing that, we have to meet our children where they are, and different ways we can input that. And so, and I made an announcement about this in the House about a month or so ago. The baseline that we took in our primary schools, we took a baseline before these interventions, and then we took a baseline the next year. And in almost all of the cases, every single cohort, our baseline doubled, in some cases tripled, from what it was prior to these interventions. So that part works. That it is proven to us that it works. We're now putting these interventions at the middle school and at the senior school level, but it shows that if you change the way that you approach education, and that is understanding that the focus has to be on the children. Schools don't exist because children need to learn. If there is no children that come to the school, there's no need for the school. There's no need for teachers to be employed. There's no need for ministers to be employed. So we've got to understand everything that we do and say has to be about what's best for the children, because that's the only reason we're here. And so when we put in interventions and we talk about meeting our children where they are, that's where we're talking about the signature programs and putting things in place to say, listen, student, we're going to, you said this is what you need in order to be effective. We're going to provide that as much as we can. And we're going to actually have teachers that are able to provide that as much as they can. And that's where we'll start to see, and we are confident we'll start to see a difference in the attitudes of our children, especially when it comes to going to school. If you don't enjoy doing something, you're not going to try to do it. But if you put things in place that says, it makes sense to me, the way I'm being taught it now, I'm excelling at this, I feel good about myself, those are the things you want your students to walk away with.
Agreed. And I also want to apologize to anyone if I use the wrong terminology. I think learning differences is a lot better. So forgive me on that one. You mentioned the educators, and I think this is something that I want to ask as well. We've seen a bit of friction between the ministry and the teachers. Not all of them, of course, but we've seen a bit of friction. How would you reassure parents that this relationship is it could be patched up already, right? But how would you reassure parents that this relationship going forward into this new curriculum is going to remain cordial?
Here's the one thing that all of us have in common is we want to see our children succeed. We may have differences on how we get to that point, but we all want to see it. And it's just a matter, and you'll hear me say this time and time again, everything starts with a conversation. Everyone has to be willing to listen to each other. And as long as we continue that balance, and so people would not know, but there's been meetings going on between the Department of Education and the Bermuda Union of Teachers on a regular basis since the COVID stuff began. And so we're working through the challenges that we have. It's not in. I wouldn't say our relationship is in, where everyone's slapping each other on the back and belly laughing, but it's in a place where we are getting the job done. The Learning First group is the group that is working on the curriculum and the change in education. There's a meeting between them and our union partners on a monthly basis. They're aware of what's going on, and I have other meetings with all of our stakeholders where they get to give input on the things that we're moving forward with. So I would say that we're all in this together. Family has arguments, family has scraps, but at the end of the day, family does look at what is best for our children, and we'll continue to move in that direction. I'm looking forward to the new school year. I'm looking forward to renewing the renewed relationship, and I'm looking forward to having critical discussions with the Bermuda Union of Teachers around some of the outstanding issues that we have, so we can finally put them to bed and move forward.
Okay, I think that's really all that can be done, right? In regards to teachers as well in this new curriculum, there has been mention of different types of accountability measures that folks are looking at. I know you might be aware of Singapore and how they made teaching very competitive, and it kind of completely elevated their education system. Will we see any sort of measures to attempt to make teaching competitive and to have any sort of accountability and any of those measures placed into this new curriculum?
Well, there's accountability now that currently exists. I know people don't think it's there, but we have principals who are the domain, that the school is their domain. They're the ones that are responsible for ensuring that the teachers are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're getting to, they're doing the things that need to happen within the class. They report on a regular basis to the commissioner and those sorts of things. I mentioned earlier about the Education Authority. The Education Authority is being put in place to transfer to introduce some more accountability, as you said, and kind of take education out of government operations so it can operate on its own at arm's length from government. And so that gives it, again, a different way of operating outside of the some would say the bureaucracy of operating inside of the public service. And so some accountability measures will be put in place once that's up and running. But the idea is to push that accountability down at the school levels by having school boards that are accountable for their budget. They're accountable for what's happening within the school. They're accountable for producing the reports that say that their school is excelling and their school is doing the things necessary to ensure our students are excelling. And so those are the types of things that we're looking to put in place. It's still under development. We are not as close as we would like to be for some things like that to come into fruition, but it's still we're still in consultative stage, as we talked about consultation, engagement sessions. And so we're still in that particular stage, but in the near future, we'll start seeing some announcements around the Education Authority and how it will be moving forward, and how it will transform. That part of it will transform education from the accountability portion and building the strength within our school system between our various school buildings.
Okay, and along with this Education Authority, what does that change the Ministry of Education in any way?
No. The Ministry of Education will still exist because the Education Authority will be the responsibility of running public education. The Ministry of Education does a lot more than just public school education. There are other things that the ministry does as well. So the authority will still have the responsibility to report back on a regular basis and show that they are getting things done as part of their mandate. So there will still be, because it will be fully funded by government, there is a fiscal responsibility for them to report back to government. So there can't be any, some people will say independent education authority, and you actually You can search long and wide, and you probably I will be shocked if you ever find any comment where I've said independent education authority. I always say education authority because I know, based on government fiscal rules, that it can't be independent unless it's independently earning its own money, and that is not the case. Public school education will not be able to do that. So there will always be a reporting mechanism back to government, but I would like to see it as hands-off as possible, at arm's length, free from any sort of, if I get replaced tomorrow and the next minister comes in and says, well, we're going to do this now, and then everybody shuts down what they're doing over here to run over there. That's the part I want to remove. We are on a good line of length, and we're moving forward at a steady pace. Everyone is saying that, we see how this is going to work, and so I want this to be at a position when I'm, when I'm not around, that it's still able to continue and move forward with all of the things that we've set up without anyone coming in who just wants to do something different because they want to do something different, being able to change the trajectory, overnight. That's the type of stuff that's always happened within education, and why we've never really been able to follow through with reports, implement programs, and the like, because there's always been something that has gotten in the way of that moving forward. I'm trying to be the minister that removes those barriers so education can be what it's supposed to be, and that is ensuring that our children receive the best possible education, and they are able to live their lives fully and give back to our society, whether it be locally or internationally.
Yes, thank you for that. And just for spitballing, because I know nothing is set in stone yet regarding it, but would you hesitate to say that we should then expect long-term plans from the education authority then, because it wouldn't be subject to changes, via election or resignations, that they could do like a 10-year plan and stick to that without any sort of
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not going to speak fortuitously of how they will operate and move forward, but that's the type of thing, where, and we're also trying to build into that accountability back to the public. So we talk about an education authority, and we're saying that there will be a requirement for them to have public forums on a regular basis, so the public can ask questions in an open forum. Those are the types of things that we want to have in place. It's an exciting time for education for me. We're seeing the fruits of our labor. As I told you, the math program, we're now working on English intervention programs along the same lines, and we're seeing the fruits of these labors. Today, I was at the ABIC scholarship presentation, and one of the young ladies that won an award, I was reading her bio. She's a public school student. She's gone through our College Promise program. That's a program that allows anyone that graduates from Berkeley and Cedar Bridge with a 3.0 or higher to attend the Bermuda College tuition free. So she's utilized that process. So she's now graduating from the Bermuda College and entering into her third year of university based on the fact, and she hasn't had to pay a single dime in tuition to get to the third year in school. So you can imagine, if parents really understood the types of things that we have put in place to ensure that our students have the best possible opportunities to succeed, and the amount of money that they could save by going through, by just taking advantage of some of these things that have been put in place, that's a tremendous amount of savings, where you're able to say, I'm starting my third year and I've never had to pay for tuition ever. Can you imagine that, Dwayne?
For real.
Is that something everybody took advantage of?
Honestly, yeah. I think we'd be in a better spot, Minister.
Yeah.
Well, we have one more break, and then I will come back and allow you to kind of say any final thoughts you have for the listening audience.
Okay, cool.
Fruit juice plays a major role in our food lives due to its health benefits, convenience, and sheer deliciousness. For many, it's the second beverage we encounter as infants and the one we return to as adults. Good eats in a glass. Lakewood Juice Company has been bottling the diverse line of pure organic and premium juices since 1935, and they are a flavorsome natural source of antioxidants and vital nutrients. This month, we're featuring Lakewood Organic Pure Lemon and Lime Juices and Beet Ginger Turmeric and Pineapple Ginger Juice blends. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
A fantastic blowout pre-cut match sale is now on at Seasons and Sizewise in the Paget Plaza. 30 to 60% off all summer fashions for petite, missy, and plus-size ladies. Strike a 6 during their 30 to 60% off pre-cut match sale. Everything is on sale, including all swimwear, dresses, shoes, handbags, and more. Ladies, you know our sales, so hurry in while stocks last. You're not just another customer. Seasons and Sizewise, not just another store. Seasons and Sizewise in the Paget Plaza. South Shore Road, Paget, open 10 to 5 Monday through Saturday.
Now back to motion to adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Minister, for giving us some of your time.
No problem, man.
And I want to hand the mic over to you to pass on any information that we didn't get to that you would like for the public to hear before you go.
No, well, for me, I would just like to thank the public, the listening public, for everything that they have done, to get us to where we are. This is a community effort moving forward. And I just want them to continue to hold our feet to the fire, continue to ask those questions, continue to volunteer, continue to come to the sessions, continue to give your ideas. Be on the lookout for some PR stuff that we're going to be sending out leading up to September opening for the signature schools. Anyone who wants to reach me can send me an email at minister@moed.bm. Visit our website, www.moed.bm, or visit the Learning First website, www.learningfirstbda.com. Sign up for the newsletter, sign up so you can receive regular updates on what's going on in education reform, and just continue to support us, continue to support our children. That is the most precious resource we have, and that is our children. And they deserve our best. They deserve all of us adults to put aside our petty differences and recognize that we're building a system for them, not a system for us. And so, I just want to thank you, Dwayne, for having me on. I know we missed a couple of dates, but I'm glad we were able to do this, and I look forward to being invited back. Hopefully, I can be invited back from you. And thank you to your listening audience for taking the time out to listen to us today about what's going on in education reform, especially our signature schools at the senior level starting in September 2022.
Thank you. And, we always appreciate you having you on. So we're definitely going to have to follow up when the signature school takes off to get some more insight and all of that. So I feel like with education, there's always a spot on the show for you.
Yeah.
Always a spot. So I appreciate you. I'm going to let you go, but hopefully we'll be able to catch you again sometime in the future.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you. You be safe.
Yeah, man.
All right, folks, that's our time. I hope that you enjoyed that. And of course, you always can reach out to myself or MP Famous. We are extremely available and visible on social media, in the community, and anywhere you see us, really. Come up to us. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know. We always love to hear from everybody. So we're going to adjourn, and that will be the next week will be the week right before Cup Match. So we'll adjourn until Thursday, the 21st.
And you have been listening to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
You're locked to Power 95, Bermuda's big station at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station. The jams.
D-I-G-I.
Big. The personalities and DJs.
My DJ.
Bigger. The station.